You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
Millions for Trump's megaparty went to the wrong bank account, a report based on an article by The Conversation. Patriotism as a funding shell game. The reporting starts with a naming problem and ends with a power problem. America 250 was created by Congress to mark the 250th anniversary of independence. Freedom 250 was created later by executive order from Donald Trump, then fed federal money, White House promotion, and a political brand that was never actually neutral. House Democrats now say that confusion may have been used to steer donations and sponsors toward the wrong entity. If that allegation is true, this is not administrative messiness. It is engineered misdirection. The real center of gravity. The institutional power here is not evenly spread across two similar non-profits. America 250 is the congressional vehicle. Freedom 250 is the Trump vehicle. One was established through legislation in 2016. The other was born in January 2025 through executive fiat. That distinction matters, because the confusion is not just accidental overlap. It is a symptom of a president building a parallel patriotic machine around his own political identity. Trump did not merely bless Freedom 250. He made himself central to it. The White House promoted its events. He delivered keynote speeches, and he used the platform to push Make America Great Again politics under the cover of national celebration. That is the real story. The state's symbolic machinery was pulled toward one man's brand. Follow the money. Congress appropriated $50 million for 250th anniversary events in the 2025 tax spending and immigration bill Trump said. According to the source, much of that money flowed to Freedom 250. Now the Trump administration is asking for another $10 million, citing security threats. That may be a legitimate concern, or it may be the latest convenient rationale for another transfer of public resources into a politicized channel. The article gives no reason to treat the request as innocent. The alleged fundraising scheme fits the same pattern. If donors intended to support America 250 and were directed instead to Freedom 250 bank account, that is not a branding mix-up. That is a power move built on donor confusion. The fact that corporate sponsors allegedly felt pressured to back Freedom 250 instead of America 250 only sharpens the point. This was not a free marketplace of patriotic options. It was a capture attempt. The framing problem. The source is right to note that the Democrats' report may appear partisan. That is the weakest possible way to describe oversight into a federally backed fundraising operation tied to a sitting president's political project. Partisan is not the same as false. In this case, the report's allegations are specifically incomplete answers from interior officials, allegedly misleading directions to wire funds, and sponsors saying they were pushed toward the Trump-aligned entity. That is where institutional cowardice enters. Secretary Doug Burgum and interior officials were supposed to explain how a Congress-created commemoration ended up running alongside a presidential vanity operation. Instead, they reportedly gave incomplete answers. When agencies refuse plain accounting, they are not being neutral. They are making cover available, not confusion. Design. The source includes performers who declined to participate after realizing the events were not the nonpartisan celebrations they had been led to expect. That detail matters because it strips away the innocent story. People do not back out of a supposedly civic celebration because of a typo. They back out when the political agenda becomes impossible to miss. So the misdirection here is layered. Donors may have been steered. Sponsors may have been pressured. Public funds may have been routed toward a Trump-branded apparatus. And the whole thing was wrapped in patriotic language meant to make the operation look like national unity instead of political appropriation. That is how modern corruption works, and not with a disguise so much as with a flag. The pattern behind the pageant. This is bigger than two non-profits with confusing names. It is a familiar authoritarian pattern. Sees a public ritual, collapse it into personal loyalty, attach federal money, and then blur the lines until accountability sounds like partisan irritation. The anniversary of independence should have been a civic exercise in shared memory. Instead, it is being used as a stage for patronage, branding, and control. The democratic response is not to pretend the abuse is merely clumsy administration. It is to name the mechanism plainly: executive power used to create a parallel institution, public funds channeled through it, and patriotic language deployed to launder political motive. That is not celebration. That is capture. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of John, thanks for listening.